Hey, welcome in. Thank you for joining y'all. Today we are going through some Marvel Champions decks, taking them from solo to multiplayer because this weekend I am getting together with some friends to play Marvel Champions, which is exciting for me because it's pretty rare that that happens. I'm a mostly solo player, but um, some friends of mine, one has Marvel Champions, but isn't too keen on, like, he doesn't know, I think, the rules very well, so I'm going to help him figure that out. And then our other buddy, similar to him, is just very, like, they play a ton of board games, so way more board games than me, so I'm very confident that they'll pick up Marvel Champions and it won't be as much of a teaching process for me because they know what they're doing. So, in thinking like, hey, we're gonna play this weekend. What should we do? My buddy made it easy because he said he picked up Gambit recently, and I was like, well, let's start there. And the first thing that comes to my mind with Gambit was the let's check out the deck lists here. If you scroll down in the popular pages, oh yeah, it's still here. There's the Gumbo Diplomacy. So that open here, when he said Gambit, I was like, we got to get him to play this, not only because of the name, mostly because of the name, but it looked like a good multiplayer deck, and I'm pretty sure it mostly is made for multiplayer. So thinking about that, I was like, okay, we have mission trainings and danger rooms, Cerebros mixed in here, and that matches up with the video series that I just made on, or just the one video that I made on the Psylocke Psionic Suite series of decks. So I pulled that over and figured leadership would be a fun one to go in on, and like help support and do its own thing. And then, right, so that was us two. And then our third friend has not played Marvel Champions. So my first thought was let's get him playing aggression, because what better way to start someone out on Marvel Champions than hitting the villain and all the minions? And so I thought there were a couple heroes. It was going to be X-Men, X-Force, like Cable came to mind, and Wolverine, right? Just go in and start doing Wolverine stuff. But where I ended up landing, and which is, I'm pretty sure, a part of my top five like heroes to introduce friends to, was Cyclops. And so I looked at Cyclops aggression decks and what was popular and whatnot, and immediately Master Blaster popped out, and it was Villain Theory, and I said that's all I need to know. So we grabbed this Villain Theory deck, and right with this, it's focused on boosting up the ricochet beams and one by one, and just like blasting with your lasers. And I thought that sounded awesome. And so what do we do to combine those, right? Because a lot of these have similar cards, they do XYZ stuff, right? We're looking at Master Blaster, he uses Mutant Education, which is a huge part of Psylocke's deck. So in order to combine those things, I just started, I think, with um, Gambit, and was like, what can we start doing here? How do we mix these up? And so I'll pull them side by side, right? Like this is the Gumbo Diplomacy deck, and then here's the one that I had for game night. And so we can take a look through the cards, right? There's 9 allies in the OG. And what I did was I need Professor X and Forge in the Cyclops or Psylocke deck. And then, so for this one, I took those two out. I tossed White Queen in because she has a cost of, or a thwart of 2. I hadn't realized until earlier today, by the way, this is take 2 of doing this, so should have mentioned that at the beginning. I first recorded this and the audio did not record, and that was kind of heartbreaking, but we're here now. So we got Pete Wisdom here, comes in with 3 thwart, which is bananas, but Gambit does need the X-Force trait to play that, which then comes in with Children, the Atom there, which in hindsight, right, maybe Pete Wisdom belongs in the Psylocke deck, so I might switch that out just to make sure she can get Pete Wisdom out. That's not too bad. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do that. Switch someone over here, and that way, like we can get Pete Wisdom out earlier because I would be X-Force. All to say, that makes Children of the Atom huge, but we'll get to that. So those are the allies there. If we looked at the events, I'm pretty sure I did not change a thing there. Yeah, same events there, same resources. And then when it comes to the supports, right, I have Danger Room and Utopia there for Gambit because he'll be wanting to get out a bunch of allies, so we can give the Utopia ally upgrade to him. And then 2 Children of the Atom to get those out. And then let's see, I put Cerebro and X-Mansion in the Psylocke deck. And yeah, and then in this one I added the Vigilante training since a big part of it is playing Gunboat Diplomacy. I figured we'll see if it gets used or not, but the Vigilante training, if it's, if the decks are drawn at the right time, at least we can get Gambit into Alter Ego and then exhausting that card and getting more Gunboat Diplomacy recursion. So seems pretty cool. And then if we look at our upgrades, in all of these decks, I thought it'd be fun to include the cell phone, which if you're not familiar with, has the ability for your teammates to activate out of turn, which is awesome. There's been so many times that I've either house rolled or just skipped over, like, man, I have a Utopia and I play an X-Men character and then we can ready someone on like the first player's team, but then they can't activate because it's like it's dumb and it's like, well, there might be a guard minion or something that just needs one more damage and here's the ability to do that, right? And that's a role that crushes me because I'm like, think if you're on a field, right? If you're thinking of a Marvel battle, why wouldn't like that person be able to activate when it's on their turn? But I understand the rules of it. But anyway, just cell phone's awesome. I think it makes multiplayer. I think it's gonna be cool to get one of those down. And so we have endurance, and then I put 2 honorary X-Men in there as opposed to 1 because ideally one of those will go onto Psylocke as well. Um, and so Gambit and Psylocke will have both of that, and then Cyclops, probably, the Cyclops just won't have X-Men when they're in Alter Ego, which is okay because you can still use Danger Room, Utopia, and all the mutant stuff. So that is the Gumbo Diplomacy there, right? How I mixed it up for a multiplayer deck with these. And then if we go and take a look at the Psylocke Psionic Suite, we can look at our allies here. I have 1 less, so who did I cut, right? I cut Gambit, and then that was it, because Gambit will be on the table. So no Gambit as an ally. He'll be a hero. And then I have the X-Men instruction, right? Those are staying the same. One difference was the player side schemes because with the new recruits, this was probably the final addition I made. I realized one of the new recruit, um, what's it? Sorry, one of the new recruit people, allies, geez, minions, allies, what my brain, new recruit minions. When you bring them in, one of them can have 3 thwart. So, right, you can bring them in, get a training upgrade on them to get an extra thwart, and then yeah, if you can get another thing like inspired, that we'll talk about that, then you're like, say you have 2 4 thwart minions out there in Pete Wisdom and the one that comes out from new recruits, now you're doing, right, like 1 gunboat diplomacy is doing 8 damage and 8 threat removal, which is absurd. So that seems awesome. So I put that in just for that synergy with it. And then, yep, I have Cerebro, Children of the Atom. So we have all 3 Children of the Atoms floating around. And that can go on everybody, which Cyclops isn't going to need it anyway because all of his allies, everything's X-Men for him. But yeah, as we go through this, yeah, it's cool stuff. I think those are the sports, and then upgrade differences I added 2 inspireds. And so if we take a look over here, right, there's not a ton. I cut a helicarrier from here, probably to make room for cell phone or new recruits, because those just felt more fun in multiplayer for me. And yeah, those are those. So we can go take a look at Master Blaster over here. So here's the OG Master Blaster. And right, so there's just some ally upgrades that we want to make to this. I wanted Beast in the Psylocke one, but so for the Master Blaster, I wanted to focus on attacking and like what's fun for a first time player. Let's get down beefy allies and like do attacks and stuff. So if we take a look at the things here, I added gold balls for gold ball stuff. Right now, if you have like, if gold balls comes in and boot camp is there, and then if I put 1 attack training in this one, just because I was like, I don't know how often it'll come up to be used, but I might as well have it in there if we're going to have the Danger Room training. You could argue to have 3 in there as well. I just don't think the Cyclops player is going to be using it as much. So anyway, Pixie's in there to go grab another X-Men ally, and then you have Polaris gives a tough to an X-Men character, which sounds good. Rock Slide, right? He's beefy, comes in and he's attacking for at least 3. And then Shark Girl seemed fun for like a new player coming in. Shark Girl seems like a fun card. She's cheap, and then at least like the villain or whatever minions are going to at least have one, likely one upgrade on them from all of these upgrades. And so she'll at least be swinging for 3. So I thought that was cool. And then Sunfire is just a staple, right? Comes in and can get rid of just nasty attachments. And then Wolverine is Wolverine. I mean, can't leave home without him in this kind of deck. It would be I'd feel bad not to. So anyway, if we look at the events, yeah, I took out the X-Men instruction because that goes in the Psylocke ones, and I thought it was fine just to have the 1x1s and ricochet beams in there. And then the resources, those all stayed the same. And so then we look at the supports where Utopia and X-Mansion are out and about, but I left in the Helicarrier, especially if, Boot Camp gets onto the table and then I draw a, build support and then we end up doing that. At least Cyclops has another support to go get, because whereas Gambit and Rogue have a ton of supports. And then, so if we're looking at the game night version of this, right, there's that cell phone in there, attack training. And then the 2 that I'd be like, probably would remove if I had to was Martial Prowess and X-Gene. I don't know what I have against resource generators with this, but it just, right, Martial Prowess is just attack events. We only have 6 of them in here. No, this Full Blast isn't even an attack event, huh? No, it's not. Wow, that's unfortunate. So, right, there's only 5 cards that can use Martial Prowess. So I don't know. Maybe I'll cut that for either another ally or another attack training, something like that. We'll see. Maybe another suppressing fire. We added those in here, so again, more tactic upgrades, and some more healing. Honestly, I might do that, like cut a Martial Prowess for suppressing fire. Because, right, if it's a brand new player, do I want them worrying about a card that can generate a specific resource for a specific kind of event? Seems, I don't know, tedious. And then X-Gene as well in here. They can only play it in Alter Ego, and then an identity specific event. That at least includes Full Blast, 3, 4, 5. You're at least having 6 events in there, as opposed to 5. I don't know, I'll think about that, but I might just remove these resource generators and let him focus on allies and like doing other stuff. So honestly, I might make that change. But anyway, as we're doing this, maybe even a 3rd warrior skill. Oh no, it's max 1 per player. I take that back. But yeah, so right with this deck, I think it'll be fun to do all that stuff. But I like if I'm making it for a new player, albeit a friend who like knows board games well, I like to take out extra, probably nonsense. And so I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to say, how it's going to go. But I feel like more allies could always be better. But hey, that's the video for me. Please like and subscribe below. I'm looking at the time. This is shorter than the previous video that I made, so that's probably a win. And for my sanity as well. So anyway, y'all, I appreciate it. Have a great night. Have a great day, night, evening, morning, whatever you're at when you're watching this. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.